Welcome everybody to another episode of This Versus That, where we bring two geniuses in the board game realm. We're bringing head to head, and we're gonna have this like trinity that you've probably never seen come together before, and we were gonna decide the fate, the future of board games, and we're gonna do that right after this.
Get back here this instant!
Thank you. Oh, I love you too. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's welcome our guests, Paul Grogan and David Waybright. This is beautiful. This is a meetup. David, you brought it up. This is a meetup that has never been seen before.
I did. Now I want it to be known, I did not say that we were geniuses by any stretch of imagination.
Nope.
Now, present company excluded, Paul Grogan is a pure genius, but I am certainly not that confident in my... oh, wow. Paul, look at him.
In the introduction, I was waiting for Mark to say, but the geniuses weren't available, so we've got Paul and David instead.
That's true. That's true. That's accurate, so...
That's the benefit of recording this beforehand. I can make the intro say exactly that. So
that's true.
And we're here today to talk about fonts, right? Or board games. Which one is it?
I think so.
Typefaces.
Typefaces. I'm sorry. I apologize to all of those in the comments already.
We are breaking down. We are eliminating 5 fonts from existence. That's what this is.
Yes.
Oh, Papyrus is the top of that list.
Is Comic Sans going to?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
that's at the top.
All right. So let me tell everybody what we're doing here. Actually, you know what? Let's let you guys do a little introduction. Paul.
Oh.
Yeah. So my name's Paul Grogan. I work full-time in the board games industry as Gaming Rules. I'm a full-time rulebook editor and writer. I also create various types of videos now. I do a lot of how-to-play videos, but I also do a lot of playthrough videos as well. And in the background, I also do some game development with various companies. So yeah, keeps me pretty busy.
I swear you were going to say, in the background is my backyard.
That's what I thought too. I really thought that's what he was going to be talking about, was the background.
Yeah, well, you guys have got these nice backgrounds with games and everything else, and my studio is just a blank wall, so I figured I'd go outside. So this is actually the view from my back garden. Yeah.
Those are his sheep in the background.
That is beautiful. I would not be doing board game media if I lived with that background.
No. Okay, Mr. Waybright.
Well, I am with Man vs. Meeple, and despite the fact that I had so many audio and video difficulties, as these two can attest to prior to recording this, we have a YouTube channel, and we do all sorts of board game reviews, previews, all sorts of content for board games. I'm no genius, but I do know a thing or two about board games, at least these few back on my wall here.
Okay, so you know about 5 board games.
There are some off frame too. Just to be clear, it's about 6.
That's great. Okay, well, unfortunately, none of those are on our list for today. So, and you grow a fine beard. You didn't mention that. It's coming. Your COVID
it's
beard
there
is
anyway.
coming in nicely.
It is a beard. It's actually, I don't know when I started and why I started it, but here's the reason I kept it. My wife likes it, so there you go.
Bonus. Every time I see, because when I grow up my beard, it's a lot of white in there as well. And every time I see that, I think of the new the new Bad Boys movie, where Will Smith dyes his beard with cocoa. I think it's called dark cocoa bean or chocolate cocoa bean or something like that, or cocoa bean midnight. But that's what keeps popping into my head. That's why I don't grow my beard, because I don't want to have to dye it all the time. But I've only done it once.
My hair is actually naturally jet black, and I dye it with a little gray because I want to look distinguished.
Oh, you're like one of those models, those guys that are like 25, but they're all like ripped and jacked, and they dye their hair and their beard's white, so they look at this 60-year-old who's jacked. Oh,
exactly. You just described me to a T.
That's it. Like this hoodie comes off, and it's just like it's washboard.
You don't even want to see.
You don't want to know. No, I don't. No. I don't want to feel less about myself.
You do.
Good.
Yeah.
It'll hurt my self-esteem. All right. So why are we here? Let me explain. So we are here to determine the fate of board games, 10 in particular. 10. We are going to be discussing 10 games. We're going to be putting them head to head against each other. And then in like a Thanos Infinity Snap situation, we are going to eliminate one of those games from existence. They will never, ever be played again. Now, just because a game is eliminated does not mean that anybody here, these fine gentlemen, or this dirty bastard in the bottom corner, if it doesn't mean that we don't like the game. It's a gun to our head situation. You got to choose one. The fate of the universe depends on it. I don't know how, but that's beyond my beyond my pay grade. I just know it has to happen. So that's how we're going to do it. Ready? Are you ready, guys?
It has to be said, me and David do not know in advance the 10 games that are on your list.
No.
Okay? We have no idea what these 10 games are going to be. And I already know that at some point in this show, you are going to make me obliterate a game that I really like, and I'm going to feel terrible for the rest of the day.
Well, that's what happens. You made your choices. You have to live with it. But yes, all I know is that you have played these games. That's it. Right. That's all I know is that you've played these games.
Yes, you did give us a colossal list of games to go through and say yes, no, yes, no. Yeah. I think I checked yes on at least 90% of them, hopefully.
Yeah, I think there was only like 3 or 4 on your list that you didn't mark. You did really well. You did really well.
No, yeah, but those and a lot of them I've played like once or twice. So we'll see how this goes.
That's how it works in this industry. Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go. Oh, and here's the thing: if there's a tie, I will be the tiebreaker. As you can see, my title, I am Mark Maya, the tiebreaker, and I will base my decision on your arguments. So, here we go. And don't give me the answers right away. Think about it. Think about it.
Keep it secret.
First on the chopping block, and I try to make these. Well, whatever. I'm not going to lead anything. First 2 games on the chopping block. Viticulture versus Kingsburg. So Viticulture versus Kingsburg. So, and keep in mind, when you get rid of a game, you get rid of all iterations of it. So you get rid of all the expansions, anything that would, and this goes, these games don't have the most expansions, but if it was something like, say, Pandemic, anything with the title Pandemic on it would just be gone.
Oh, wow. This is further reaching than I thought. The power that we have in our hands right now is a little intimidating. With that said, I know immediately my answer, but I will patiently wait for Paul.
Yep.
Paul, do you have yours too?
I've got my answer.
Paul,
yep.
What do you got?
Are you going with me first?
Yeah. Let's go with you first.
So I have played Kingsburg a couple of times. I've played Viticulture about 3 times. I think both of the games fall into the category of the base game, the first version of the game that came out, needed fixing. Viticulture without Tuscany for me was unplayable, and Kingsburg as well. I believe that there were issues with some of the stuff, but the expansion fixed that. On reflection, though, I would keep Viticulture over Kingsburg. I know I've not played Kingsburg enough, but yeah, I'm going with Kingsburg. I'm going with Viticulture for this one.
Okay, so
and that might be wrong.
So you just snapped Kingsburg out of existence. You just done. It's gone. Nobody ever gets to play Kingsburg again.
No.
All right, well,
sorry.
All right. Well, I feel lucky because I've only recently discovered Kingsburg myself and played it quite a few times. So I'm happy I got it in because if David agrees with you, it's gone.
Right.
All right, David.
So this is interesting. We're starting off with a little bit of a contest here because I'm going to have to snap Viticulture out of existence. Now, I will preface this just like Paul did. I've played these games. I played Kingsburg a fair amount more than I have Viticulture. I think it's possible. In fact, I'm almost certain I've only played Viticulture once. However, it was with the Tuscany expansion. So I don't really have some experience with the evolution that it went through with that expansion. Kingsburg I've played without the expansion. I've played with the expansion. And this is why it's not so much why I would snap Viticulture out of existence as it is why I would keep Kingsburg. and this kind of boils down to a lot of my arguments, so you might hear this over and over today. I think Kingsburg is utterly more playable, more accessible to a wider range of people. And for me, generally, and this isn't everybody, but for me, that ends up typically being pretty high on my list of like what I like to keep, what stays in my collection, that sort of thing, because I play with a wide variety of groups. I'm often playing with people who are more casual gamers, not sort of in the enthusiast board gamer scene. And the mechanics that you have in Kingsburg are really, really fun. I like the way that you're using the dice, and I just love the look of the board too, even though it's a big stack of characters. So Kingsburg's the one that stays, and Viticulture is gone.
So we got to split right away. I got to say, to be honest, I thought this was going to be a gimme due to the popularity of viticulture, because I think if you went to like your regular social media circles, you went in there, you talked to the people. I think viticulture probably would take that for sure.
No questions. Yeah,
and you guys bring both good arguments. Like I didn't even, up until like a few months ago, I didn't even know Kingsburg existed. It was one of those that just kind of slipped through, and then somebody brought it to my attention, and we played it like 4 or 5 times in one sitting. Like we just went back to back to play it. And so like I really did like Kingsburg. So I hate that this is I really thought you guys would make this easy. Pick one.
Mark's like, I don't want to have to choose. One of us is getting up out of our chair and leaving right after you say whatever you're about to say.
The show's over. It's over.
What Mark doesn't realise is that me and David have actually had an agreement beforehand that we're going to disagree on everything. So actually, we don't have to make any real decisions. It's all Mark.
Yeah, we talked earlier. I choose. He got Viticulture. I took Kingsburg. So.
Yeah.
Well, I do agree with Paul that Viticulture on its own, I played it 4 times. And I remember the first time I was like, this game's great. Second time I was like, oh, let's do it again. By the time I got to the 4th play, I was like, I'm done with this game.
Okay.
But once I included Tuscany, it just brought the game back to life. Like, I don't think Viticulture is, like, I think you need Tuscany. Like, you need both. Or it's the
cards.
Oh, yeah.
The first time I played Viticulture, original game with the base game cards, I said, I am never playing this game again. I felt that strongly about the imbalance of the cards. So, yeah.
Okay, well.
Yeah, I actually saw just the other day someone had posted the question, what games must you absolutely play with the expansion? And this one was mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Now, Kingsburg wasn't, so that might mean Kingsburg's better on its own, but it also might mean that no one thinks about Kingsburg.
Yeah.
Oh, this is tough.
Paul, we should sit back here and enjoy this. I like watching Mark
I think I know what you're going to go with, and I'm comfortable with that.
As am I.
Okay, if we got to keep one, if I got to make the pick, I'm keeping Viticulture.
I knew it.
Viticulture. I'm keeping Viticulture.
I thought you were going to pick Kingsburg.
No, Kingsburg, it's gone. It's gone.
Despite everything that you've just said about it.
Yeah, I know, because...
Okay.
Go ahead, David.
Let me tell you why I think you did this. Tell me if I'm right.
All right.
You were thinking of the greater good. You were thinking of all the people who love viticulture. You were like, you know what? I can't snap it out of existence. Regardless of how I feel, what about all the people who love viticulture?
That's true.
I was far more selfish. I was looking at this as, which one do I like? Forget everybody else.
And that's fine. Selfish is fine.
That's fine.
But I did make the decision based on what I thought, like, if looking back and thinking, like, out of these two, what should, like, the masses try if they haven't tried? I think it should be Viticulture. So that's kind of like where I based my decision on that. But it was tough because honestly, I'll probably go back and play Kingsburg again because I've just recently discovered it. So it's got a lot more longevity for me right now. But now it doesn't even exist. Now it's snapped out of existence. Not going to play it again.
Unfortunately, you can't do that.
So my question that I was going to ask is actually a moot point now, is to you two, especially David, because you know the games I like, should I be going to try Kingsburg again? Because the last time I played it was just after it came out originally. Not that I can, because it doesn't exist anymore, but if it did exist.
It sounds like Mark would say yes. I mean, I've got to be honest. It's hard for me to give and Paul, you know this. We play so many games and all sorts of new stuff. I am very cult of the new. I have had Kingsburg. In fact, I played the original game a long time ago, and then when they did a reprint of it, maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I bought it, and I haven't played that copy that I bought.
Right.
But that doesn't speak to Kingsburg. I have some of my top 10 games of all time have been on my shelf, not played for the last year.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes. But I do think it's a good game. I do think it falls into the category. Every so often, there's an old game where I'm like, let's get that out for some crazy reason. Then we play it, and then we're like, oh man, I forgot how much I like this game and why I like this game. I would bet that Kingsburg might fall into that category because it does a lot of interesting things that many games do now, at least pieces and parts of. And I think it was one of the earlier ones that did some of those things.
Right.
Well, if we didn't just snap it out of existence, I'd say people should definitely run out and try Kingsburg because it's got some great expansions. When I played it, every time I played it, I added a new expansion and just tried all the different expansions, and I enjoyed them.
Right.
They added a good amount of variety. But it's gone now. It's gone for good.
It is.
And on a side note, if anybody noticed me struggling with something, as I was fidgeting, I broke my SD card reader, so there shan't be any new episodes of Board Game Coffee going out until I fix this.
Okay.
Someone get the man a fidget spinner.
Yeah, that's what I need. I was fidgeting with it, and I got a cable stuck in there, and I didn't know that if you put that in there and you rip it out, it rips the teeth right out of this thing. So that's garbage. Okay. All right. So let's go on to our next. I also just snapped this out of existence. So no SD card reader.
That's the real tragedy today.
Okay. All right. Well,
round 2.
Viticulture. Okay. Let's see. Round 2. We're going bigger. Well, now is bigger better? I don't know, but we are definitely going bigger. Here we go. Okay. Round 2. Gloomhaven versus
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Too Many Bones.
Oh, you've done it.
Gloomhaven versus Too Many Bones. Yeah. Okay.
So I'll go first this time.
All right. Do it.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about this because, again, some of the same things come into my mind because I think of the fans of these games. Obviously, to get into these games, it takes a certain level of commitment. And I think that's probably what my answer will revolve around. And both games are fantastic, obviously. One of them is the number one game on BGG. I mean, it goes without saying. Too Many Bones, when it comes to commitment, takes a lot of commitment. If you're going to play Too Many Bones, you can't invite 3 other people over and say, okay, everyone's seated at the table. Here's how you play Too Many Bones. You've almost, in fact, the few times I played that back in the day, we all took our respective characters home and were assigned to learn them before we actually came back to play, which you effectively have to do. It's difficult not to approach it that way. I do love a lot of what Too Many Bones is doing. I love the chips, I love the play mats, I love all the very tactile aspects of playing that game. But I gotta say, I would have to snap it out of existence and leave Gloomhaven just out of sheer respect for what Gloomhaven has ultimately done in the industry. Not to mention, now, when you say Gloomhaven, we're including all things Gloomhaven, right? Like
Correct.
you said.
You'll never see Frosthaven. It'll never come to fulfillment. If you snap that out of existence, Frosthaven would be gone. It's part of the Gloomhaven.
But more specifically, this includes Jaws of the Lion, too, which I thought was a brilliant product that brought Gloomhaven. In fact, I think it's a better product. I think Jaws of the Lion I enjoy better than Gloomhaven. So yeah, I snapped Too Many Bones out of existence, and Gloomhaven lives to fight another day.
Okay, all right. Paul.
Well, Gloomhaven, as David said, it's not just the number one game on BGG. It's not my number one game of all time, but it is in my top 10. I've played it 50 or so times, and I've been involved in Frosthaven, and I've been involved in other things that Isaac's done. we're still playing Gloomhaven now. Me and my partner Vicky, we're still playing. We're playing through Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion together now. So 4 years on or whatever, we're still playing it. Fantastic game. And the other thing that David mentioned is what it has actually done for the hobby as well, which is quite a lot. Too Many Bones, I don't know if either of you are aware, but I made myself a New Year's resolution this year that I am going to invest the time that you mentioned is needed to play Too Many Bones, because I've dabbled with Too Many Bones over the last couple of years, and every time I do, I get into it, and by the end of the game, I think I get it, and then 3 months later, I'm like, nah, I've forgotten everything.
Yeah.
So I decided that because I have a lot of Too Many Bones content, and because I've got so many friends who say it's their number one favourite game of all time, and the fan base for the game is huge, I thought to myself, I'm going to have to dedicate my time. So basically, once a week for the whole of January, sometimes twice, I did a live stream of me playing and learning Too Many Bones, and I have kept that going, and I'm doing it once a month. And I am now at the point, well, I was at the point at the end of January that it clicked, and I got it, and I understood it, and I could see why it had all of its fans, and I was actually comfortable with playing the game. Because for me, something I really don't like, because it makes me feel really uncomfortable, is playing a game that I just don't get. That either I don't get the rules are not sitting with me, or I'm not understanding how the bits work. And by the time I'd invested in playing 3 or 4 games of it, with people in the live chat helping me, I was like, right, I'm understanding this now. And I was able to play it, and then I was able to enjoy it, and I was able to appreciate it. I love both of the games. But if you're going to put a gun to my head, I'm going to have to keep Gloomhaven, because Too Many Bones, whilst it is a fantastic game, Too Many Bones does have a few quirks. There are a few things about it in the way that some of the things interact that the rules for me, that doesn't really make sense. Yeah, but they're the rules. Oh, right, okay. And it's only a few of them, and I know fans of the game will disagree, but Too Many Bones has those quirky things in there. The rulebook is unfortunately not great. The game accessibility, although Gloomhaven is a heavy game and it has a big learning curve, Too Many Bones has an even bigger learning curve. And as David says, you can't just... I mean, I could get 3 people round and say, we're going to play Too Many Bones and I'm going to teach you how to play, but it would be a learning game, right? It would be the whole point of the evening would be me teaching you how to play Too Many Bones. And I would have to know all of their characters like the back of my hand so that I could then say, you choose which skill you want and then I'll explain how it works, because every character has a learning curve to it. Gloomhaven does as well, but on Gloomhaven it's here's a set of cards and here's a few modifiers, and the cards are self-explanatory. In Too Many Bones it's here's a 2-page sheet full of shorthand text and hieroglyphics that you've got to play the game 3 times and ask loads of questions on the forums in order to be able to know how that character works. But once you do, it's a great experience.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I just assembled my Too Many Bones trove chest, and now I don't even get to play it because now it's snapped out of existence.
It's gone.
It's gone. I just have an empty space where that cube was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and while we're sorry for you, Mark, I think the internet and the tens of thousands of backers from Frosthaven thank us.
Yes.
If for no other reason, I didn't want like a rebellion on the internet with all these people who'd backed Frosthaven and are waiting for it.
Yeah.
Well, Isaac could just be like, well, it was out of my hands. It was those assholes on Board Game Coffee.
Nothing to do with me. I'll just refund the $12 million that we made. So.
Also,
I do apologise, though, in advance to everybody who was expecting me to do a Too Many Bones stream next Wednesday, because I'll do Gloomhaven instead.
Because it's gone. It's gone.
That's a good point. Can you put games on this list that I have projects coming up for that I can so I can dodge the work?
Oops. Sorry. If you check out last episode of Board Game Coffee, it'll explain everything, and you'll understand. You'll understand.
Yeah,
it just can't be
exactly.
done. Can't be done. That was good, you guys. I'm happy you guys made that decision for me, because actually, because I've played Gloomhaven a lot more than I have Too Many Bones. I've actually only played Too Many Bones once, and it was a video playthrough. And you know who taught me was Sam from Gamelin Games. he taught me how to
Oh,
play Too Many
wow.
Bones because he's a huge fan. So he taught me remotely. So it was me, him, and Brittany, and we were playing. We had it set up on our table here, and he had his little character there, and we were just rolling dice and telling each other what we got, or doing whatever, and we were just tracking it. So it was it worked out well. That's how I played Too Many Bones. It was COVID remote. All right. Okay. Well, Too Many Bones. You're out of here. Gloomhaven. Congratulations.
That was a good matchup, by the way. Good matchup.
It was.
It's a heavy matchup. If you carry both
Yeah.
of those in one backpack,
That's-
you will die.
That's like Tyson versus Holyfield right there.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, here we go. Next one, we're going small. We went big. Now we're going small. Here we go. We're all over the place.
Is Tichu one of them?
No.
Oh.
Here we go. Exit
Oh, I've got this one.
versus
Oh, don't say it.
unlock.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say it.
This
knew
has
you
a
were gonna do
special
this.
place for Paul in this one. Paul,
You
didn't you
didn't
have
even
something to do with unlock?
Oh.
Yeah,
oh, do tell, Paul.
I'm the English editor for not all of the unlock sets, but certainly the last 3 or 4 boxes. So what happens is Space Cowboys work on them. They do the French versions. Then they get them translated into English. Then they send me the files. I print them all out. And me and my partner, we play through them. We edit the text for editing, but we also test the scenario and we feed back any issues and improvements and things like that. So yeah, I'm professionally involved in the Unlock series, but that hat has been taken off. I can give you my personal opinion on both games.
Oh.
Well, keep in mind that's future work
Impressive.
that might be gone for Paul.
Impressive.
Yeah.
So, Paul, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? Because this,
I can go first on this one because this is quite easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I've been asked this question many times before, and also my partner, who isn't really a gamer, she plays these games with me because she loves puzzle games, she loves escape room style games. So we play exit games and unlock games. We've played 10 exit games and we've played all of the unlock games. So we've played loads of them, and we've got a lot of experience, and we've discussed it as well. Controversially, I'm going to keep the Unlock series, and that isn't because I'm professionally involved, and it is because the Unlock series has evolved over the years. If you were to ask me this question after Unlock boxes maybe 1, 2 and 3 had come out, Exit was our favourite ones. We preferred the Exit series to the original Unlocks. However, as the last few boxes of Unlock have come out, and I say boxes because, as you see there, in the UK and in Europe, they get released as 3 things in a box, but I believe in America they release them as individuals. They've evolved. They are using very, very clever stuff within the app, and they make the game a more involved experience and more varied than Exit. We found the Exits, we love them, but after playing quite a lot of them, they are a little bit samey, whereas the Unlock ones, they've sort of, stretched their legs and they're able to do very, very cool stuff. So, yeah, I'm afraid, even though we love the Exit games and we play all of them, the Unlock for us is a better series.
All right, so Exit potentially gone. David,
Is
what's
it my
gonna be?
turn?
It is your turn.
Yeah.
All right. So I knew my answer to this before you put Exit up there, and before you even put anything else up there, I knew exactly what my answer was going to be. And that's a bit of a mislead because it's Unlock. I'm going to keep Unlock. I'm going to snap Exit out of existence, just like Paul. I agree with everything Paul just said. I haven't played a ton of the Exits. I've played like maybe 2 or 3 of the Exits. I've played a lot of Unlocks. Not every single one, but I've probably played at least 7 to 10 different Unlock adventures. Paul's right. They've evolved, and mostly, from my perspective, in the way they've utilized the app. The video game themed one was sheer brilliance. Like that's probably my favorite one ever. I'm a big video game nerd, as I'm sure we all are, but that one was fantastic. The other great thing, and this is, everyone says this about these 2 things, Unlock, I can play, I can experience the whole thing, and then I can pass it along, which you can't necessarily do. You can't necessarily do that with the Exits, right? Because they're somewhat destructible. The other thing, and this is more of a knock against the exit, and this is just a knock against the exit experiences I've had. Again, I haven't played a ton of them. But I remember my exit experience, including their hint system, I got a little frustrated with, because I know, at least in one of the adventures we'd played, it felt a little bit more obtuse. We like to think that we're smart, even if we're not, but we were like having trouble on a couple things. You'd look at the first hint, you'd look at the second hint, and then the third hint. The first hint was a joke. Like, the first hint was like, well, we knew that. Like, I wouldn't have looked for a hint if I knew you were just going to say, this is the hint. And then the second hint was maybe the best part that would point you in the right direction, but it still felt kind of obvious to us. And then the third is basically, if I remember correctly, it just tells you the answer effectively, right?
Yeah.
So I felt like their hint system was it was a fairly quick acceleration. It was like, okay, that doesn't help. Okay, that doesn't help either. Oh, that's the answer. So that kind of stuck in our craw a little bit too. So unlock's great, and like I said, the biggest thing about it is that you can finish it, and I've passed on so many unlocks to people to play, and I'll always remember having played them. It's not even something I'd ever want to play again, but you can hand over a perfectly good game to someone else and spread board gaming. It's great.
Yep.
Now, I will say one thing I don't like about Unlock, the English translations. I'm just kidding.
Terrible. They're terrible. I don't understand what they are.
Especially the later ones. The earlier ones, not so much, but the later ones.
The last three in
hard.
Particular.
Yeah.
It's like those translations are an escape room, like in and of themselves, is trying to get out of that.
Quick question, David. Have you played the Sherlock Holmes themed one from a couple of boxes ago?
I did, and when you say that, I so badly want to say, oh yeah, the part where you do this and this, and of course I'd be ruining it for people.
Yeah.
But the not only that one, but some of the other ones that really make you literally think outside the box.
Yes.
And go, oh my God, why didn't? And sometimes you feel really dumb when you didn't figure it out. But oh boy, when you figure those things out, you feel like a pure genius, and that's one of the great things about some of these sorts of games is making people.
And
feel
I'd love to give some examples, but every example we're going to give is a spoiler to one of the solutions in there. But
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, interesting thing about this Snap situation is that there's still going to be like an escape room type of game out there. It's just the Exit series is gone, and I believe this question it's come up a lot. Like, it's a lot of people want to know, like, what should I get? Should I go Exit? Should I go Unlocked? And I know a lot of people that once they go down one stream, they just kind of stay that way.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm just an Exit person. I'm just an Unlocked person. And in the beginning, I was just an Exit person. So I played a lot more Exits than I have Unlocked. And I can tell you that as far as the Exits go, I've never felt dumber than when I play an Exit game. And like Brittany loves escape rooms. I'm less of a fan of escape rooms. I like puzzles. I'm not a huge fan of escape rooms itself, but I'll give the games a go. But I play them because Brittany loves them. And we play them, and I really expected her to have my back more and be better at this.
Does she know that these are cooperative games, or are you playing them competitively?
Yeah, you know what? That's how we play real escape rooms. We play them competitively.
Oh, right.
It's like, no, get out of my way. There's elbows in the room. It gets nasty. But okay,
yeah, I love escape rooms too. I would say this decision between us is probably the unpopular decision from what I've heard.
Absolutely.
Most people like Exit better. It's the one that has seemed higher profile. Unlock, I think, to a lot of people feels a little bit too abstracted compared to Exit. It's less tactile, and it relies on the app a little bit more. But I don't know. I really like the system that they came up with a lot.
Well, you have me sold. I want to try the video game one, and since it's
still
have you
not done that?
I have not. You've recommended
it's called Insert Coin.
Yeah, you got to play
Coin,
that
and
one.
it's the first one in that box.
Fun fact: Insert Coin is my car license plate.
Oh, well, there we go.
What are you doing? Go play this game.
I didn't know. Yeah, because that's I bought my car when I got into the video game industry, so I wanted something that was video game related. So my license plate is Insert Coin. All right.
Cool.
Okay. Well, that's That is good. I didn't know where this one was going, honestly. I was very curious to hear where you guys would go with this one.
Another perfect matchup, of course.
Okay. Now, this one, I have my answer. Like, I know it is. So if there's a split decision, I know what I want it to be. But I have friends of mine that would be very disappointed with me. Okay, here we go. Concordia versus Castles of Burgundy. So
that's kind of mean.
That's kind of mean.
And so we got a lot of Burgundy boxes.
Yep.
That's there you go.
Yeah, I'm just going to unfriend Mark on Facebook right now. There you go. Done.
This is
I will say this.
Gotta go.
It's not a. It's. I'm trying to think which one has been a real tough. Nothing's been super tough for me yet. This one is also not tough, and if you know anything about me or any of my sort of like top 10 lists over the years, you'll probably know where I stand on this. But I can. All of these matchups are clearly, from a board game community standpoint, significant matchups. I'm curious to hear what Paul has to say here.
Yeah, I'm curious.
All right,
because I'm
you're
actually thinking about it because I don't have an answer to this yet.
Paul's gonna get up and
It's your turn to go first.
I will go first, but don't let what I say have any effect. Yes, go into a soundproof chamber. This one's pretty easy for me. I've played Concordia, I think, twice in my life. I've watched it again recently, but it was the Concordia. Is it Venus? Is that the newest version? The version where you can play 2v2?
Yeah.
Which I found fascinating, by the way, but I haven't yet played that. But as per Mark's rules, that would go away too.
Yeah, it would.
But Castles of Burgundy is going to stay in existence. It is, and Concordia is going to get the snap for sure. Castles of Burgundy is in my top 10. I know I know some people who felt that way at one point or another too, and then coming back to play it more recently, they're like, yeah, I don't know if Castles of Burgundy holds up. For me, it absolutely holds up. I love. There's not ever been a game of Castles of Burgundy that I played where I was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm getting a little tired of this. Like, I've played it I've played it a lot, and even then, I still haven't played it with all of the different boards and I just recently got, the newer edition that comes with a lot of those things.
Yep,
so
that's what I got.
I'm looking forward to playing some of that, and I think even one of those had a 2v2 scenario in it, right? Where you put boards together and you can kind of play side by side.
I think so, yeah.
Haven't done that. There's a lot of room to continue to play Castles of Burgundy. It will always be something that comes off my shelf. It also has an app that I really enjoy playing. The app is actually quite beautiful. So yeah, and I had the pleasure once of actually meeting and eating chicken wings with Stefan Feld, so there's no way I could snap it out of existence.
I also had dinner with Stefan Feld, actually.
Oh, really?
I did.
But did you have peanut butter and jelly chicken wings?
No, we didn't have peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
I actually don't remember
I'll always have that.
what we ate.
I may be
hug.
I think I'm one of 3 people on the planet who will ever be able to say, I ate peanut butter and jelly chicken wings with Stefan Feld.
You were with Rob, weren't you?
Yeah, Rob and my wife Alicia and Christina as well.
All right, because I remember seeing that picture on Facebook. Stefan Feld's a great guy. It's talking to him is funny because he's always he seems so concerned about his accent and his English,
Yes.
and I was like, no, don't worry, you're doing absolutely fine.
It's
Nobody
fine.
in my immediate family does not speak English, so I'm used to the whole like broken English second language. He speaks a lot better than most of the people in my family, so he's doing great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, so many designers are such. Most of my experiences meeting designers in this industry since I've been doing this have been fantastic, and he's just such a genuinely sort of sweet guy, and it was fascinating to learn so much about him. And he's going to be happy to know that Castles of Burgundy is still going to exist, unless Paul says otherwise.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Oh, Paul, what do you
yeah,
got?
I mean, I've met Stefan Feld myself. He's a great guy. I
extremely
taught him
tall.
how to play Letterjam in Germany. He's also one of my favourite designers, right? He was one of my... I've been playing Stefan Feld games since almost he started out. Year of the Dragon was the first one I played. I've got about 15 Stefan Feld games in my collection. Castles of Burgundy was one of my favourite games of all time. It used to be my number one favourite Stefan Feld game. I've played it 70 or 80 times, maybe, something like that. Now, a lot of those
Wow.
plays were online against, and a lot of them were two-player games with somebody who was sent to jail, but that's another whole story. And
Paul,
yeah,
you didn't say
it's
you were going to
absolute-
tell anyone.
No. It's an absolutely fantastic game, and there is no doubt, component quality aside from the original game and the fact of there's 3 different shades of brown in it, it is a fantastic game. Absolutely. But I'm going to keep Concordia. Controversially,
Whoa.
despite everything that I've just said about it, because, gun to the head, if you gave me a choice now of playing one of those 2 games, I'd play Concordia. And it's odd, because I don't actually own a copy of Concordia. And I really should, because I think Concordia is a genius game. I think it's brilliant. I think it's elegant. I think it does something different. Now, both of these games have lots of expansions. So both of these games are expandable with lots of different variations. But I think the variations on Castles of Burgundy mainly are just different board layouts.
Yeah.
Both of the games are completely abstract with the theme pasted on, right? Absolutely. These are the absolute definition of a dry, soulless Euro where there is 0 theme and the setting doesn't matter whatsoever. You know, you don't feel like you're trading goods in the Mediterranean. And as far as I know, when I used to own a castle in Burgundy, I didn't have to roll dice to decide where to put my buildings. That's not how it works in real life. But mechanically, both games are amazing. And yeah, I love both of them, but if you gave me a choice, I would play Concordia over Castles of Burgundy.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
There you go, Mark.
Oh, man.
Time
It's
to
on
upset your
your-
friends.
It's on your plate, Mark.
As soon as these options came up, you know, like this doesn't come as a surprise to me. I set these up, but as soon as it came up on screen, I started getting nervous. I
Yeah.
started feeling flutters, and I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. I was like, I don't know if it's gonna come to. And then whatever you guys were gonna choose, I was like, I don't know which one's the right. It's like when you flip a coin and you don't know what you want it to come up,
Yeah.
and okay, I just gotta breathe. Okay, so here you go. You guys brought up both 2 very good points. Both of you brought up good points for both these games. But I think I am going. Here you go. Here's what I think. The complexity, the complexity of Castles of Burgundy. Like I love all the things. I love doing all the stuff. All just the managing of my dice and resources, and I like a game with a lot of parts, with a lot of moving parts. Mm-hmm. I do. I like that. Now, when you get to Concordia, it's so much simpler to teach and to play and to just jump into. And I like that. I like the fact that for me to remember how to play that game, I just got to tell myself, do what the cards tell you to do. Do what the cards tell you to do. And that's most of the playthrough. That's most of the how to
That's true.
play.
That's true. That's a fair point.
It's so easy like that. And I played both these games roughly around the same time. You know what?
Just think of those combos in Castles of Burgundy. Oh, those juicy combos.
Okay, so juicy combos, they are juicy. And Brittany's a huge fan of Castles of Burgundy as well.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, this is tough.
I'm gonna play the Brittany card.
So here we go. I'm gonna say before I give you my answer, that Joe Pilkus, he is going to be very disappointed with my answer, because I'm snapping Castles of Burgundy out of existence. And I'm keeping Concordia for its accessibility. It's such, I can't explain to people as much when I bring up Concordia. When they see that box and they're like, I don't want to play this. And then they're like, or it's either, I don't want to play this. Oh, I don't want to have time to learn a Euro. And you're like, no, I'll teach you this super quick.
Yeah.
And just sit down, play it. Just sit down. You have any questions, you ask me as I go, but I'll teach you this in 5-10 minutes. We'll sit down, have a little chat, you'll play it, and you'll love it. Everybody loves it. The barrier to entry is just so, what you just walk right in. You just walk right into this thing. And it's so easy to get into and play. And I think the depth of Concordia compared to the teach is just it's not something you get in a lot of games. Yeah, the ratio is not something you get in a lot of games. Usually you want a lot of depth, you got a huge teach. But it's so simple, and what you get out of it is just so much. So that's why I'm keeping Concordia. I think although they're both great games, and this is one I would have really liked you guys to make the decision for me, and I would have been disappointed either way. And the reason I brought up Joe was because Joe taught me how to play Castles of Burgundy.
Right.
And he was like, I love this game. He just kept telling me he loved it as he played it. He says, isn't it fabulous? And now it's out. And now it's gone.
It is. It's gone. I will say something that Paul mentioned about these being incredibly dry Euros. Before I got into the hobby at all, I mean, there was a time in my life where I remember I'd go to the game store, I'd look at games, and I really just wasn't into the hobby. But I'd look at either one of these boxes. These two boxes maybe represent to a T, like what your friends say. You show them this box and they're like, oh, no.
Yeah, no.
They're not what you'd call like great hooks, the visually in terms of getting people in. And I'll say this even more for Castles Burgundy. When you open that box up and you start putting stuff on the table, it doesn't get any better. Generally. But man, I do love those combos. I'm going to miss those combos very much. You know what else I'm going to be frustrated with is I have to go back and now do work and adjust my top 10 of all time because there's a vacancy.
That's right.
I just make it a top 9 of all time. There you go. Easy.
That's true.
Start
I'll just whittle them down. Maybe I'll just slide Concordia in there.
Well, slide Concordia is not in there?
No. I mean, I like Concordia, but it's not. It's just not in my top 10.
I don't remember if it made it in my top 10 either. It's definitely in my top 50.
I feel like there's other games that use similar mechanisms that I enjoy as well. Castles of Burgundy is so unique. There's a short list of games that I feel. I've always felt and this is something that connected me and Paul once upon a time. Pulsar 2849. I've regarded that as almost like a Castles of Burgundy 2.0 in that you're getting 2 dice, you're using those 2 dice. That's simple, right? Well, no, there's a billion things you can do with those dice, and that's the similarity between those two games. And I just love how simple that is. But like you said, the teach on it is okay. So here's all the things you can do with those dice.
Yeah.
Here's all these buildings that you have to remember what they do. And the same thing goes with Pulsar. It's like you do it and you're like, okay, I've got my 2 dice, and then you sit there and you kind of go, okay, what and it can take some time for some new players anyway. So
yeah. And whilst the teach on Concordia, as you say, is fairly simple. You literally choose a card, play the card, do what it says on the card.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right with the depth. Because you can play the game by just playing a card and going, right, it tells me I can move a piece, I'll put it here. And then after you're halfway through your first game, you go, oh, right, now I see where I should have moved and what I should have bought and why I should have done this. And then it starts to come. I mean, Concordia, you're right in terms of the card play mechanism has now been done again in other games. But I think the genius in Concordia, and I never forget this. It's a friend of mine in the UK who absolutely hates Concordia, not only because it's a dry, soulless Euro, but because of the way that the cards are actions, but they are also your scoring cards. Now, I think that is an absolute genius, but it will catch you out. If the first time you play the game, if the person teaching you just says, yeah, well, pick up some cards and everything else, and then you get to the end of the game and you're like, okay, so this one scored me none. This one scored me none. It's like, no. When you're picking up a card, you've got to look at that scoring card. You've got to look at that because that's your points at the end of the game. And it's where they've tied together those two things is just genius. Yeah.
It is genius. That's exactly what I was going to say is just that scoring system. I love that scoring system. It's so good, and that's what really, if anything, if any AP ever happens, it starts toward the end of the game where you're like, okay, what can I do? I need to get more wheat in these cities. I need to you got to evaluate your cards and I got to change gears. I got to do right by my cards so they will do right by me. Help me help you. So, okay. All right. And again, I like to remind everybody that this is a gun to our head situation.
Yeah.
I love both these games.
Yes.
I hate to see anything go, but it has to happen. It has to happen. Burgundy's gone. Castles of Burgundy, gone.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because I just bought the new collector's edition, and I was like, well, that's. I didn't even get to open it yet. I played the original. I played it digital. I didn't even get to open it. It's gone. All right.
That's unfortunate.
Okay.
Was that round 4? Are we ready for round 5?
Last one.
Round
this
4.
This is the last one.
Oh, it's the last one. I thought we were doing 100 rounds. Okay.
Now this is the last round, and I'm going to tell you that I really want you guys to pick this one for me.
Another one.
Okay, Paul, we know what to do now.
No.
Paul, you take the one on the left. I'll take the one on the right.
3 winks means.
I shouldn't have said anything. Okay. Now, as far as what these two games have in common, I think you could just put them by sheer popularity, which is one of the ways I put these things together. Mm-hmm. Here we go.
There's been some good matchups so far.
And just so you know,
it has been.
Both of these games, my boxes are worn right down. Like I don't have any games that the boxes are worn this much from play.
It's Yahtzee and Clue, isn't it?
Clue and Monopoly. Okay, here we go. Terraforming Mars.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Versus Pandemic.
Okay.
I mean, I think.
And then remember,
Paul, you've got your answer, right?
All the Pandemics go.
I think I have my answer.
And because that's like 100 games you're getting rid of right there with one.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I haven't gotten my big box yet, my Terraforming Mars big box, and I'd like to get that before it disappears.
Well, you might not. You opened this can of worms, sir. It's on you.
You did. This is on you.
All right. Okay, so whose turn is it now? Is it Paul?
I think it's
Paul. I think it's Paul.
So I recently did a top 10 video earlier this year. And because I always get quite nervous about doing my own top 10 videos because I work full-time in the industry, what I do is I get my Patreon supporters to vote. So I come up with the category and my Patreon supporters vote, and then I basically do their top 10 and I add some extra comments myself. The recent one that I did, and it was earlier this year, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but Terraforming Mars was on that list. And I think it was probably the top 10 games of all time. Top 10 best games of all time, according to my Patreon supporters. And Terraforming Mars was on there. And I was not very complimentary about it. And then afterwards, 2 weeks later, I didn't regret some of the things that I said, but I looked back on some of the things that I said and I went, yeah, that was too harsh. The game is better than I gave it credit for in that video. And I was turned off a little bit from Terraforming Mars because of the sheer hype, the sheer popularity is just overwhelming. And I was just a bit, I don't know, I was a bit fed up by it. And it kind of put me off the game a little bit. And then when I went back and I played it again, and I was like, yeah, I said those things. I shouldn't have said those things. Because the game is brilliant. And I played it and I was like, I played it 2 or 3 times. I played the digital version, which is an extremely good adaptation of the board game, not against the AI. The AI is terrible, but against other people, playing the digital version of the game is the same as playing the physical board game. And I was like, this is brilliant. This game is really good. And suddenly, those couple of years where everybody I knew was playing nothing other than Terraforming Mars, and I was like, oh, why are you always playing Terraforming Mars? Right, I suddenly went, now I see why they're always playing Terraforming Mars. It's just, yeah. So I gained much more of an appreciation for Terraforming Mars in the last couple of months, and I'm actually doing a playthrough of it this weekend. Pandemic, well, if you want a game that's done a lot for the hobby, Pandemic has done a lot for the hobby. Whereas Terraforming Mars has been a massively popular game with gamers, Pandemic, I think, has been one of the catalysts for why the hobby has grown to reach out to non-gamers. You know, there are a few games which have done that over the years, and Pandemic is one of those games. It kind of put cooperative games on the map as well. And you know, the popularity of the cooperative nature of Pandemic, I think, has been partly responsible for the growth in popularity of cooperative games in general. I've played both games. I've played Pandemic Legacy. I mean, if we even touch on Legacy, we've got Pandemic Legacy, which has been its whole new catalyst for spawning Legacy games. I can't make this decision. I really, really can't. If you forced me to play one of those games right now, it would be Terraforming Mars, no question. Absolutely no question. I think Terraforming Mars is a better game. I do believe Pandemic has a bit of an alpha gamer problem, and I know the argument that it's not the game's problem, it's the player's problem. I get that. But I've also played cooperative games that have addressed the alpha gamer problem. So there's no question that Pandemic is a very good game. It is. There's no doubt at what Pandemic has done for the gaming industry and the gaming hobby. But if I had both of those games and had to keep one of them, it would be Terraforming Mars. And that's a personal opinion.
I didn't know where that was going.
I wasn't either, because he started painting such a good picture of what Pandemic had done for the hobby. Mm-hmm. It is hard to not respect that. Because it is not insignificant what Pandemic has done and what it continues to do. I mean, Pandemic is one of those amazing franchises that rides both sides of the fence today. Because Pandemic Legacy is an absolute staple in a lot of enthusiast gamers' households, whereas vanilla Pandemic is still selling by the truckloads at Target and at in mass market. So it is an amazing thing that it does, but I'm going to have to agree with Paul here and keep Terraforming Mars, and I'll tell you why. And one reason is because I'm missing all the combos from Castles of Burgundy. I love engine building. There's nothing,
engine building.
So there's a handful of mechanisms in board gaming where I'm like, if I hear of a game that has one of them, I'm like, okay, tell me more, and then a couple more and a couple more. Engine building is one of those, and I want to talk about the digital app too in a second. But playing those cards out in front of you. When I play Terraforming Mars, I rarely win, and it's because I'm so focused on just playing my cards and having fun with what I'm doing with my cards that I completely ignore that there's a board that I'm supposed to be doing things on. And obviously I'm raising some of the stats, the temperature and the oxygen and whatnot, but I'm not really doing much of the area control stuff, or I haven't traditionally. I bring that up because the app amazingly forces you, if you're a player like that, because when I'm playing, I'm sitting there staring at my cards the entire time. If I'm not looking at the cards on the table, I'm looking at my cards in my hand. And I'm not really thinking as much about connecting those and what I'm doing with the board. In the app, you're looking at the board the entire time, and in fact, you have to actively push buttons in order to see your cards, so they kind of like force you to look at the game in a different way, which completely opened my mind to how I really should play Terraforming Mars. Also, Terraforming Mars has a special place in my heart. When we first started, or very early on anyway, did Terraforming Mars come out in 17 or 16? 16. So I think it was the first Gen Con when they were announcing Terraforming Mars. Stronghold was printing it actually somewhat locally in Lafayette, Indiana. And as a joke, I went with a fake box and stood in front of the printing facility to take a picture. And this was right after we started Man vs. Meeple. And we photoshopped the artwork from Terraforming Mars on the front of it and saying, we got a copy, in front of the printing facility. And I remember Stephen Bonacore was like, wait, what? And I know that he's told me since then that there were other content creators at the time who were calling him saying, "What are they doing with Terraforming Mars? We haven't gotten our copy yet." So it was a really it was a really fun story, and the game is just great. Like everyone I play it with, Alicia plays it with me. Hardcore enthusiasts play this. There's so much game that this offers, and even a lot of the expansions. I got to say, I just played it a couple weeks ago with 4 people, and we didn't play with Turmoil, but we played with Prelude, which you pretty much have to play with, in my opinion. It's the way to play. And we played with Colonies, which is a great expansion as well. And there's just so much that it offers, and it's. I don't know how better to put it than it, to me anyway. Terraforming Mars is the best example of what I'd call the quintessential modern classic. Like this game it came onto the scene 5 or so years ago, and it is an absolute staple. And there's a lot of other games that have kind of gotten into that realm too in the last 5 years, but this one, like, it's just a pillar of the industry from day one till right now. So yeah, it's got to be Terraforming Mars for me.
What you said about you don't win, you just play your cards and you have fun.
Yeah,
it's just so cool to get this card and go, oh look, I built a space mirror. What does a space mirror do? Oh, it increases my if you're talking about thematic integration, you could look at that space mirror and say, okay, so it costs 22, it moves this marker up 3, and it moves this marker down 1, and it does this, right? You can purely look at the numbers. But Terraforming Mars, and there are other games that I've got where you've got a card, like, the standard Euro game about building a castle in medieval Europe. You play a card, it costs 12, what does it do? It adds 3 of these, and it adds 1 of those. There's no thematic connection whatsoever.
Right.
In Terraforming Mars, every single card in the game, when you look at that card, you go, yep, that's what that card would do. Yeah. Everything is, and even though it is just numbers and icons, it fits. And you have so much fun. And this is one of the great things about Terraforming Mars. You play the game, and at the end of the game, okay, somebody's won, but look at what you've done. You've got a load of cows, right? And you've dropped an asteroid on Dave, and you blew up his plants, and you did all of this stuff, and it's enjoyable to play. And you add up the score at the end, and you're like, yeah, whatever. It don't matter. I've done my stuff. Yeah.
And that's a great point, and not so much as a comparison between these two games, but it is one of my absolute favorite things. And in fact, I'd almost go so far as to say it's a great example of what I consider great game design. Is if at the end of the game you've lost horribly, but you enjoyed every step along the way, it's a great game in my book. Now, you have to be the kind of person who's more about the journey than the destination when you look at a game that way. But that's how I look at games. I when I win, I love it. I don't usually win, and it doesn't bother me, but I really enjoy games that do a lot while you play. There's other games where it's really more about the end result. It's more about the destination in the way it's designed, and I don't enjoy those games as much. But Terraforming Mars, just I did this and I tiffed this card and it gave me this and then I can do this. Yeah, I love that sort of experience.
I mean, Terraforming Mars has the advantage in that it is a competitive game. The cards are balanced. Each of the cards are balanced in themselves. Obviously, you will get certain cards that are better for you at certain times. Whereas Pandemic is difficult because Pandemic is a cooperative game. You win or you lose. So getting the difficulty level right in that game is tricky. And I think one of the issues that I have with Pandemic as a game, and one of the reasons why I generally wouldn't choose to play it, is you can win or lose that game before the game has even started. The randomness of the cards in the deck can be in your favour or against your favour, and you shuffle the deck and you put it there at the start of the game. You don't know it, but you could have already lost that game just because of the way certain things come out. Now, I remember playing, one of the best experiences I had is I got invited to one of the live shows that they did at the UK Games Expo about 3 years ago. And every year they do a live Pandemic game where they get 3 Z-list celebrities on stage, and basically we play Pandemic. And it was me, it was Josh Howie, comedian in the UK, and it was Z from Dice Tower. Sorry, Z, you're not a Z-list celebrity. Me and Josh are. And basically what happens is we each take it in turns, and they got the cameras set up. And of course, at the start of the game, there's a full crowd of audience. They all decide which difficulty level we're going to play on. So they all shout hard, right? It's an entertainment show. There's jokes along the way. It's a bit of fun. There's a bit of audience participation. It's not about winning, because you're never going to win, because you're playing on hard, and it's just a fun show for an hour. And we won.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm like, everybody else is jumping up and down, and I'm sat there going, what? How have we won? And of course, the audience were jumping and cheering and everything else. Now, we won not because we all played really, really well. We won because we were massively lucky with the way the cards were stacked in the deck. Now, I'm not saying our choices didn't have some bearing on that, but what I'm saying is if we played that game again on hard difficulty, we might be dead in 15 minutes. And that, we have limited control on how that game will actually pan out. I just felt that the skill level versus the randomness of the way the deck was seeded was a bit too high for me. And in cooperative games, I want more control over whether I win or lose. But I know it's hard from a game design point of view, because if you make it too deterministic, you end up with players solving the game, and therefore it's not replayable. So I know it's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, it's between these two games, I mean, you got that spectrum of something being a very hardcore strategic game and something being more experiential, something that, I mean, any co-op game falls into this category. If we were judging this based on outbursts at the table and people like screaming in either, for winning or losing, Pandemic takes it. It's a very different sort of thing, and that is a very different experience. Had you put Pandemic up against some other co-op game like Death May Die, that would have been, for me, at least the way I look at games, a more challenging comparison. But this is good. These are big matchups that you gave us today, man.
Well, I'm happy that you chose Terraforming Mars or chose anything, because I didn't want to choose, because I've played these games to death. And you guys brought, thing is, listening to you guys talk about Terraforming Mars kind of softened the blow, right? Because I was like, as soon as you made your decision, I was like, well, that's two. It's two against Pandemic. Pandemic's gone. And I was like, I'm a little sad. Yeah. But then you guys talked about it. I felt like I was being consoled at like a funeral. You know, like you guys were there. You had your hands on my shoulders. It's okay. It's okay. Life goes on. Because it's a great challenging, mechanic building, engine building game, card game. It's good. That's what you have. That's what you're left behind with. And I felt good about it. And sorry, go ahead.
Maybe Paul and I were also just a little subconsciously bitter towards current events, and that's why we got rid of Pandemic.
You've just solved COVID. Gone.
Yeah, that's
done.
That was the problem all along.
I just have to say on Pandemic has, because we're getting rid of every Pandemic game.
Yeah, everything. Legacy,
there's loads
gone.
of them.
There's tons of them.
Yeah, I've only played Pandemic. I've played Pandemic Legacy Season 1. I've not played... I mean, there's been, 4, 5, 6 different Pandemic games that have come out.
There's a lot. Iberia and Cthulhu and
I think you've had, I think 4, 5, or 6 have come out since we started recording.
I think so, yeah. So I've not played any of those.
It's like the new Munchkin.
I don't know whether that would change my mind. But
well, they're all gone now.
Yeah, they're all gone. Doesn't matter. They're all gone.
Sometimes.
And also, there is I do have a very personal connection with Terraforming Mars, but you brought up one good point, which I forgot about. In Terraforming Mars, people play and they lose, but they might be sore about it, but they want to play again. They enjoyed their game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brittany loses all the time, and she wants to play all the time. She was like, let's play again. We've played it till 5, 6 in the morning. Like, we've just kept going. And we even have, to this extent, this is how a big a point this game is played in our lives. This is our wedding photo. This is what I was digging up after.
I've seen that photo posted, I think, on Facebook at one point or another.
I dug it up on my computer while you guys were talking.
That is a good photo.
She was surprised. I snuck it in our luggage when we went to our destination wedding, and then while she was getting her dress on, I stayed in our room and I was setting up the game. So I was like, okay, now that we're doing wedding photos, let's go up to the room. Just take one there. She's like, but why? It's beautiful out here. Let's just stay out here. So we went upstairs, and she's like, oh my god, this is amazing.
And then they played.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we played, and we're like, okay, just it's an open bar. They'll take care of themselves. Everything will be fine.
So I've got something to tell you two, which you've probably never heard of.
Okay.
There is a UK convention that I go to twice a year. It's called HandyCon. It's not running at the moment, but it will be soon. There is a group of die-hard Terraforming Mars fans, and every time this convention runs, on the Sunday, they play a game called Terraforming Marses. They get 3 boards out, put them alongside each other, and play Terraforming Marses. No rules changes. Literally Terraforming Mars with all of the stuff, but with 3 simultaneous boards.
Holy crap,
Takes
that'll
them
go
all
on
day.
forever. Yeah.
Takes them all day. They say it's fantastic. They absolutely love it. And yeah, if you're talking about engine building, you're doing it on 3 planets at the same time.
So it's just the
and
board,
yeah,
same amount of cards.
Same everything. Same everything. No
Interesting.
rules changes. Just you are terraforming 3 different planets at the same time. And it takes them all day, and they love it.
I am intrigued.
So-
That seems like something like that could be house ruled to death and make just crazy. I love it.
Yeah. I like
By the
it.
way, also speaking of Terraforming Mars, did you guys see that April Fool's joke the other day with the fake product that was like terraforming the moon, and it had kind of an alien slant to it? I have to say,
it was really well done.
I kind of want that game for sure.
Yeah.
Like I love the
Yeah,
idea
absolutely.
of trying to do things like terraforming Mars or whatever, but at the same time having this menacing threat that's looming. I dig it. I want it to happen.
Let's make that Terraforming Mars Legacy. That'll be the premise.
It still can now that it still exists.
Yeah, it still
So-
exists. Pandemic,
does.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
not. And as far as Pandemic and taking on challenges and the randomness of the cards, I just wanted to bring up, I didn't want to cut you off, but obviously it is random because you're shuffling cards, putting them together. But I found at one point when I was at the peak of playing Pandemic, with the expansions, we got up to 7 epidemics. Because I think you can get up to 7 epidemics in the deck with all the expansions. And we won with 7, about 50, maybe a little more % of the time. Like we did fairly well. And when we got down to like 4 or 5, we'd won 4. We unless it's a bad pull, 4 or 5, we win like all the time. So we had to play in the 6, 7 epidemic range. And we got really good at like, okay, we know that came out, so that's back in the deck. So we know that has a possibility to come out. So let's go prep, and we're putting out fires before they happen. And that's how we play. We like strat everything, and everybody at the table talks. So we don't have the alpha gamer thing because we always try to present it as like, okay, here's my suggestion. What do you guys think? Do you guys have any ideas? And we're all brainstorming every turn is like a end of the civilization brainstorm. How do we fix this situation? And we played that game like all night until the sun came back up. It'd be great. Anyways, but it's gone now. It's gone now.
Hold on to those memories.
And it's a shame. I never got to play Pandemic Legacy.
That is a shame.
Oh well.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, thank you guys very much for coming on. This was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
It's sad for 5 games, and remember, you can if you're upset with some of the decisions, you could put the blame on the shoulders of these 2.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Well, that's I don't make the rules. I just follow them.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to send me any emails to complain about the choices that I've made, my email address is mark.meyer@gmail.com. So just send them through to there, and yeah, I'll deal with them.
That was a
That's
good guess.
fascinating because that is also my email.
Very popular email.
Anyone who has complaints, any bill collectors, anyone in fact, can communicate to that email exclusively.
Mark.maya.gmail or at gmail.
There you go.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and thank you everybody watching for joining us on this episode of This Versus That. I love having these guys on the show. This was great. I hope we can do this more. I love this whole like just bringing this mishmash of like media people together to talk. Because thing is, being in this industry of the board game media, it's just full of good people. They're all just on separate channels. That's why when you get to Origins and you get to those events and everybody gets together, it's such a good time because it's full of good people. And these two men are great examples of that. Great people in the board game media, and you guys do great work. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you guys for joining us on the show. And and please, if you haven't already, subscribe to Gaming Rules and Man vs. Meeple. But if you're watching this, you for sure are already. I'm this small fry in this big, greasy pot of hot oil.
Ooh, nice. You got me all worked up.
I'm all crispy. Okay. All right. See you guys. See everybody. Bye.
Cheers. Bye now. How much time do we have? Do we literally just give an opinion?
You can talk as long as you want. You can discuss it.
Well, don't say that because I'll be all night on the first.
Do not tell Paul that he can talk as long as he wants.
Definitely not.
I got to clear some room on my hard drive. Hold on. We'll choose one game to remain, and the other will be obliterated from existence, never to be played again. And that's all.
You know what's going to happen.
Expansions and everything.
I know.
Not in the real world, right?
I don't know the power of this show. I don't know. I don't know.
You might have brought the three of us together, and that's never been done before. We have no idea what might happen.
You don't know. This is like the Infinity Stones. That's why it's it's a Thanos event.
We are the Infinity Gauntlet for the three-fingered man. Hey, by the way, what font is this that our names are in? The thick one. Is that Phosphate something or other?
I think so, yeah.
From Dice Throne?
Is it from Dice Throne?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I've been using the crap out of it lately.
Yeah, it's in our logo. I've been using it ever since.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I found it.
It's probably quite similar. I think what they sent me to do the video was like something they created. Maybe, I don't know, but it's similar. I like that type of font. I've always liked Impact, but Impact has a lot of problems.
Yeah. So that's right. I think you got it. It's because it only works in capitals. If you don't have your caps on, it's all like dots.
I'm a big capital letters fan. It's just that question mark in Impact sucks so badly.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. Are we talking about fonts today?
Today we're talking about
top 10 fonts.
Today, top 10 fonts. We're getting rid of 5.
We have to have a font off. That'd be awesome.
A font off?
Yeah, font off.
That'll just they'll just bring in the viewers. They'll just be rolling.
We should definitely have a top 10 fonts, and we should see how many comments we get on the video that say, I think you'll find it's typeface, not font.
Thanks for joining us. If you like this video and you want to see more, subscribe to our channel. It's the best way to keep up to date with everything we do here at Board Game Coffee. But if you want to see more right now, we got plenty of videos to choose from. And if that's not enough, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm Mark Maya, and this is Board Game Coffee. And remember, have fun, keep gaming, be social. See you next week.